Hey, very good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first session. All right. So first thing first, we will just like to maybe a couple of people are new today, so we'll just try to patch up like what we have discussed yesterday in few minutes, and then today's session is mostly about today, so setting up the direction. By the way, okay. So direction in the sense so how we want to proceed and things like that. All right. Cool. So let's get it. Let's get it started. So to start with, I'm going to just recall yesterday we were talking about roles and responsibilities of a DevOps engineer. So this is the very important thing. As a being a DevOps engineer, okay, so what is your roles and responsibilities? And all your learning, should be aligned to this, by the way. You should not deviate that, right? So you should not be learning something else actually, uh, you know, which is not expected for your role. And that's where we should consciously look in, everything what you're learning actually is pointing to this guy or not. Now, what all those, so points we mentioned yesterday, by the way, are basically we looked into the, on the other aspect, by the way. So what we had done is we looked into the market, who provides the job to me. We talked about that, so there is a SDLC a life cycle, a software development guys actually there is a software development happening, and those particular guys have a requirement of, engineering the product, and these guys will give us a job. That's what we talked about, right? In the SDLC, especially in the agile world, okay, we talked about a role of engineer arises, and even it is there before to that. That's what I was mentioning. This is nothing new, by the way, but now it is being called as, a process of DevOps, and where you see it as DevOps as a new thing, kind of a thing. But engineer role is there from quite some time. So, and this particular agile, okay, so is going to release the products very frequently. And what products? Where this agile is going to majorly deal with the, so web apps we talked about. Today everything is a web, right? So everything is web. The things what everything is a web. Now if people knows the systems or computers for some time back, Microsoft Office, just as an example, the best example to take it up. Now Microsoft Office, okay, Microsoft Office, okay, they used to, okay, so sell the softwares, by the way. They used to sell the CD like this, okay, like let's say 1990s or 2000, year, something like that. When you go back to the all the way, so go back to the, early 2000s, that time. So they used to sell the software like this. They used to ship when you purchase, or you go to a store and purchase it. Okay. And after that, there's an online thing came into picture. You purchase online, they will send you a courier, this particular CD, and you install it. And on top of this, in the back, you'll find out a key and you use that. Okay. Slowly, how it has been evolved, like, I don't ship the CD. You download the software from my web page, but you kind of purchase the product, by the way. I'll send the license key to your email. So that's what Microsoft has done that. And okay, from there, now to what extent it has extended, now there is no need of, okay, Office at all. So installed on your local system, everything is available in the, uh, directly on the browser, by the way. The moment you try to open Microsoft Office, then you get all the apps directly just on the web browser. You don't really need to install anything in your local system. You don't want to bother about that, you lose something. Okay, so everything is trying to get a web, by the way. Even Microsoft went with a, so OS also in, okay, so Windows on Windows 365. They launched Windows 365 last year. Windows 365 is nothing but you get a Windows PC on the cloud directly. On the browser. You don't need to really have you. For a local purpose, you can use any machine. Does not really matter. But your actual machine is actually a PC, is a cloud machine. Now anywhere you can access it. Okay. So that is what is actually, so the power of web application, or the people are looking into the web apps. And in this particular web apps, by the way, so they are trying to do a continuous releases, and we had to support those particular releases, and we call it as a, okay, continuous, rather than CI/CD, we'll call it as a release, by the way. So software releases will come into picture, and we need to kind of engineer them. And that is where now coming to the roles and responsibilities of what actually, if you look into the roles and responsibilities of a DevOps engineer, it falls into the three major things like yesterday we talked about. What is the first thing? So we need to deal with the infrastructure structure. Okay, so where these apps are running, structure apps are running. Okay, maintain infrastructure, to put that way, maintain infrastructure where these apps are running. Let's put that way. Okay, this is your first roles and responsibility. And after that, so what is the next thing is support releases. Support releases. And after that, these both the things, you'll not do the things manual and you do the automation with automation. Okay, automation effort that you need to do it. All right, so this is the okay, roles and responsibilities of a DevOps engineer. Yesterday, with a little history in detail we talked about, but however, pointing to this, so these are the things that it is going to come into picture, right? Now, so starting the roadmap for today, by the way. So now, if you look into the infrastructure where the apps are running and you support the releases, you understand that you're accessing some .com. Now, let's say as a user, for an example, yeah. So let's say if I go with the web user, someone, for an example. So I have some users and those are accessing our, like, let's say, over the browser, if they're accessing, if the users are accessing over the, I will say, browser icon. So for an example, maybe this is the best one to keep it over here, Internet Explorer. So over the internet, as an Internet Explorer, if he's trying to access our web application, by the way, so which is hosted on our, so like let's say .com. Okay, you're accessing google.com for an example. Okay, so that means like so he is trying to access something, by the way, and he is accessing http:// some xyz.com. Let's say our company is, just as an example, I'll say that it is xyz.com. If he's accessing xyz.com, so it reaches to some server. It reaches to some server. And that particular server is hosted. We hosted our application. Okay. Now, if you talk about the point number one, so the point number one will take you to the server only because you need to maintain this infra. Okay. And the next thing is support the releases also. The releases support also will be pointing to this only. This is a little tricky. Okay, whatever it is. Let me put like this then. Point one pointing to the same thing, and point two also. Okay, because at the end of the day, you're actually okay. So point one going to the server, and point two also going to the server. That means maintain the infrastructure means outside layer, like server and all, you need to maintain. Support releases means someone is accessing xyz.com. That means you keep the code also inside the same server. Okay, that means all the paths actually, so, or at least the two roles, if you look in, it is actually pointing to the server, and you want to automate that. The third point also goes to the server only eventually. But first two is the main reason that you need to look into the server perspective. Okay, that means all the thing end of the day leads to a server. Whatever you do end of the day, it leads to a particular servers, by the way. Your job actually end of the day, so targeted to a end of the day somewhere, some server. there'll be some layers you'll build it up, so automation layer. Okay, so on top of that, some other layer, on top of that, some tool layer, like that, the layers will be built up on top of that. But however, you will be reaching to the server eventually, or your things end of the day will run on the servers. So that's where you need to really understand your role is pretty much tightly coupled with the server in a server perspective. Okay, so point number one and point number two, both the things are leading to a server, by the way. So now this particular okay, this particular server is a very important thing. So that's where, I mean, most of you might not be aware of what is a server, how to deal with a server. So that's where our learning starts with a server. Generally, why, like, neither me, by the way, anyone who starts the DevOps training, so they'll start with the server because of this reason. Okay, so we need to eventually start with a server, and we need to understand what is the server and how do you get the server and all, so things like that. And you start with this. Now we're talking about server. We're not talking about desktop, by the way. We're talking about a server. Now, when you talk about the server, okay, so you need to understand that, you go to the desktop, majority of the desktops are, I mean, Windows operating system. No one denies that. Okay, if you're talking about desktops, it is Windows, or maybe some Mac OS or some Linux. Okay, majority, no doubt in that, it is Windows only. But when it comes to the servers, it is all Linux. Okay, so neither the Windows nor the Mac, by the way. Okay, Mac also have server versions. So it is all Linux, by the way. Okay, now let's prove that with some data. Okay, now rather than me saying directly, okay, so let's prove that with some market data, like which is available in the Wikipedia. Okay, usage of operating systems, Wikipedia, if you look in, so they have the data available, by the way. Okay, if you look into that particular data, you will come to know, what all the different operating systems, which is not this usage of operating systems, this one, yeah, operating systems. So over here, they clearly tell you, maybe the statics are a bit old, doesn't really matter. So still writing that, telling like, as of January 2024, okay, the mobile uses Linux kernel. If you are using Android, it is Linux only, right? So from that way they're going to start. So this is the, worldwide device shipments on Gartner report on 2019. Android is leading, no doubt in that. After that, iOS is leading, and maybe some devices are still with Windows. Okay. Now the next one is the same way. You have some analytics for everything. So if you look into the even if you look into the web clients where you use Chrome is and all, this is also used widely in Android, by the way. Then it is being widely used in Windows operating system. Okay, this itself will tell that, end user market where it is. And next to that is, okay, if you look into the little bit go down, so not interested in everything, by the way. So if you look into the desktop world, yeah, here is the one. So desktop and laptop computers, so at least the recent statistics of 2018, let it be, by the way, the majority of the one shipping with is Windows. And no one denies that, right? So it's all Windows. But if you go to the servers world, by the way, so the server world, if you actually look in, and if you look into the server things, by the way, like, so started with mainframe and, computers, supercomputers and servers, if you look in, so then this is the statistics, what it is telling. Basically, okay, so servers are majorly focused, using Unix machines, and then followed with Linux machines. Our Unix operating system earlier used to be there, and slowly, Unix came to end of life, kind of a thing. The only Unix which is living right now is Mac OS only. Okay, and everyone is actually more into the Linux. So server world mostly into this Linux world, by the way, with Linux. And what to an extent with Linux is basically is Windows went with an extent of using Linux, by the way. So Windows loves Linux, right? So this is the statement, so which at least there was a time that, so there were rivals, and whereas they went to a statement even to that, Windows loves Linux and they adopted Linux, their majority of the hardware now powered up with Linux. So their cloud infrastructure and all, if you look in, okay, especially the Azure cloud and all. So beneath the scenes, they're all powered up with Linux boxes only. And even Microsoft Windows OS 12 is shipping with two different versions, Linux kernel, Windows kernel. They're shipping that with two things. It's an upcoming thing actually. And whereas Linux is even a subsystem already in Windows 11 already. Okay. So to that extent, Linux is the most known stable piece of software that runs the hardware, by the way. So that's where everyone, so looked into that particular one. There is one more aspect to that, like why Microsoft has to go onto the Linux because of the container world. So today you might have heard about Docker. So Docker is one layer, but beneath the scene, it is container and all. So in order to adopt the containers, which is the modern development, and so it was inevitable for that time. Okay, so in 2014, if I'm not wrong, so they came up with this particular statement. Now going back, okay, so whatever it is, when you actually go with the servers, these are all Linux boxes. Okay, so let's agree that, so we got it from Wikipedia, so that it is all Linux, by the way. Okay. So you need to learn about Linux operating system. So don't imagine Linux as a big thing. A lot of people actually, I speak to basically, so just imagine Linux as a very big thing. I don't know how they get into that opinion. Okay. So Linux is a simple another operating system. Windows, maybe in the day one, like imagine that you don't know computer. Windows is also something big to you, right? Now, Linux is also something that you don't know. It is something big to you, but it's not a big thing. It's a very small thing. Now the advantage is you already know some operating system. You already know the Windows operating system. If you're dealing with the Windows operating system in your day-to-day work, by the way, Linux is some other operating system. That's it. Okay. It's never be considered as a big one. And if you consider Linux as a big one, Windows is actually much bigger one. Okay. So if you just try to, just make your mind that, do you know really 100% of Windows? I don't know 1% of Windows. I don't know 1.5% of Windows also. But I've been using Windows, maybe it's been already 25 years close to, okay, I'm using Windows. Or at least I know Windows back in 1998, 99. Okay. So we used to see that from our schooling itself. Okay. So, I mean, like, uh, I mean, if you look into the Windows is also big than Linux, I would say. So that's where 100% Windows you don't know, 100% Linux also you don't know, because you don't need it, right? So because everyone have their own context of running the operating system, and you need to run your purpose, by the way, to really have everything, so learned, by the way, in an operating system perspective. Like you take Android, every feature out there of the Android you also don't know. Like you're using mobile, right? You're a user. Okay. Sometimes you're a user, so sometimes you're an engineer, sometimes you're a developer, sometimes you're a manufacturer. You have a different things. Let's say I know car means I don't know how to repair a car. Right? I know how to drive a car, that's it, but I don't know how to repair a car. You go to the repair person, he doesn't know how to manufacture a car. Okay. You go to the manufacturing unit, he don't know how to design a car, right? So there are different layers, by the way. So the same way, like, so generally you need to consider the Linux just as an operating system. Okay, we should know what to know, no doubt in that. We shouldn't compromise on that, but that doesn't mean that you should keep a worry that, okay, that Linux is big, Linux is something difficult, all these particular things. I'm telling you, after a year, once you hang over with Linux, I'm telling you, you will one day feel from internal is feeling have a feeling that, Windows is the most difficult operating system you worked on so far. Seriously, I'm telling you, Windows is the most difficult operating system. Though you think like, it's a super thing, but it's a very difficult thing to manage for a user, for a professional, in a professional perspective I'm talking about. Okay, you will get that feeling slowly. But for now, so this is okay, Linux, by the way. So Linux is the server scope of operating system. Okay, so and that's where we need to learn about Linux. But again, let's go to the Wikipedia again. Let's read the history of Linux, or I mean, if you look into the Linux history again. uh, Linux distribution list. Okay. Now, if you go to the list of Linux distributions. So because Linux is an open source, Linux is a open source, and a lot of people actually try to adopt this, by the way. And it all started with, you see this, every line is an operating system. Every line you see over here, every color code line you see over here is a different Linux operating system. Okay. Now, out of this, the majority of the players are Slackware. Okay, Slackware Linux and Debian Linux and Red Hat Linux. Okay, and some other so orphan family, like so no particular prominence, but you have some. But majority of the guys you look in Red Hat, Debian, and Slackware. Now Slackware is even so not that widely used. That's only competition it goes with between Debian and as well as with the Red Hat. Okay, so now giving these two competitions, so now we need to talk about what we are competing with. We are competing with the server world, by the way. Okay, now that also we can just probably get the information from the internet. Okay, so saying that so Debian versus Red Hat Linux, which is widely used in server world. Okay, not in server world, enterprise server world. I'll go with this word. So I'll just ask the internet. So probably let's read out some answers. Even I can go with the ChatGPT and get the information, because ChatGPT can provide the proper, so it has certain information out there. So it can provide the information properly. So what is the question I asked here? So just so it can see that it is giving a diplomatic answer saying that, different roles are preferred by different segments of the market. Okay. So where you're looking for support and service kind of a thing. Okay. RHEL is widely recognized by the enterprise, by the way. And whereas the Debian is mostly driven by the community driven, where you have a small company, okay, and things like that, where couldn't actually offer the, offer the support and all. Actually, they go with their Debian, no doubt in that. But however, if you look into the enterprise model, like big companies, I can just see this answer finally in terms of usage. Large corporations and data centers, RHL tend to be the most prevalent in the in the largest scale, by the way, right? And smaller enterprises may go with the Debian and all. And end of the day, it does not really matter. Both are just a Linux operating system. Maybe an approach has to be slight difference, but end of the day, you're achieving the same thing. Either it's a Windows or Linux, or in Linux multiple family, even my Mac OS, we achieve the same thing. So nothing different, by the way. So that's what we need to understand, that in the server world especially, we end up going with the major guy, which is called as Red Hat family. And Red Hat has an operating system called as RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Okay. So Red Hat Enterprise RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux is what you have, by the way. Okay. Now we go with the Red Hat. All right. So now if you go with the Red Hat, finally, with a lot of data which is there in the market, now we identified RHEL is the, so the definitely the must one. So then, okay, so we need to look in, okay, so learning the Red Hat, by the way. Now the Red Hat has a lot of family, if you understand, by the way. Now lot of family of the operating systems, which is Red Hat. Now Red Hat is also open source. People will copy the Red Hat, by the way. Now who copies that? Now if you see this, by the way, so who is copying? The majority players you will try to understand. So now if you have heard about Red Hat is being copied by CentOS. You see this? CentOS is copying that. Okay. Now there are even major vendors also is there, like, Oracle is also copies that. Oracle Enterprise Linux does that. Somewhere you'll find out Amazon. Amazon Linux is also there. Amazon Linux is also a copy of this Red Hat, by the way. Okay. But anyhow, Red Hat has been acquired by IBM, and IBM changed a little bit terms and conditions of, reusing the Red Hat Linux. So there is some, so some changes on the different, different things, but does not really worry to us. So family means you learn Red Hat. Now that means you're learning every line over here. There's no difference absolutely. Okay. So that's how, so those are just copy, and, Red Hat allows the copy. Okay. So even though it allows the copy, by the way, so does not really matter. So they are still the, okay. So they're still the more efficient company who is still selling the services, by the way. Okay. So that's how they have grown, by the way. So just allowing the copy, they have grown, in fact, actually, because since they allowed, especially the CentOS part, if you look in, so since they are allowing the copy, by the way, so they went with, so they got more users, okay, getting into the enterprise, which are freely using, and those users report the issues to the CentOS, and Red Hat actually, so took that particular questions and serves their customer better. Okay. So that's how they have become a pioneer in the market in terms of support, by the way. All right. So that is some other history of the business perspective. So forget about that. So because this question will usually come like, so if they are allowing to copy, so how will they're not the lose or something like that? The answer is no. Okay. So still, Red Hat IBM acquisition so stands as still in the top place, by the way. Okay. Red Hat and IBM is the top IT acquisition with $34 billion. Whereas on top of that, there is another acquisition from Microsoft with this, which is a gaming company, which is a gaming thing. But Red Hat, so if you look into the proper tech side, by the way, so then Red Hat is still the number one acquisition happened in the market. Okay, so with $34 billion. So everything was free from Red Hat. You are free to use, but still that has been sold to that much cost just a few years back. Okay, so that's all business things. Forget about that. So now Red Hat family, you're learning one operating system. You're learning same any other operating system. Now Red Hat, okay, Linux version. So what are the different versions of Red Hat Linux, which is right now available? Maybe if you could get into their web page, by the way, maybe this one. So what they're telling is, so these are the different operating systems. Okay, so it is. So at least I have been working right from 2 version, okay, till now. Okay, so I have worked on all these particular versions, and the current version is 9 version. So version to version, they include some features, and ultimately the core will be say, so importing from lower versions to higher versions. Okay, so it is all. The current version is Red Hat 9, so that's where we are going to learn Red Hat 9. Basically, like latest version is the one. And why not we go with the old version C is because they are going to keep an end of life for everything. So end of life will be there. Release date, general availability date. Uh, End of life also will be. They will publish the end of lives as well. Give me a second. Okay, sorry. So Red Hat versions, end of life. If you go in, so they come with a end of life, by the way. So that is a problem. So that you always need to ensure, so we always upgrade the things, by the way. Okay. So now Red Hat end of life for 8 version, 7 version is already done, by the way. And after that, 8 and 9. So there don't be a particular table. Okay, so here I can see that, so Red Hat planning guide. So minor release and minor releases only will happen. And the major releases, they are stopping at extended update support. And after that, update services for SAP, I think they have something with SAP. So, but however, I don't understand how to read this graph. Okay, so here I can see that properly. So Red Hat 8.8, it is ending in 2027. Okay. And so whereas 9.3 is the current version, so which is, I think they didn't publish any end of life. But ultimately you need to understand, so they will sunset the operating system at some date. And even 27, I'm not sure, by the way, but still 27 maybe is the hard end of life. Before to that, even they'll have end of life. They'll give you an extended support, and that extended support comes with a cost kind of a thing as well. Okay, so that is how the market is going to run, by the way. All right. So this is how. Okay. So the problem with the operating systems is they are going to sunset. All right. So that's where, I mean, the only reason, like, so the latest is available. We're going with the latest. All right. So nothing more than that. We'll go with the RHEL 9 version while we are learning, because since that is the latest. So now with all the data to collect, let's conclude that, our learning is going to happen on RHEL 9 version. We learn this. Okay. So just reiterating the things, our role is actually going to, okay, so let us deal with an infrastructure. That infrastructure is a server architecture, server infrastructure. So that's where we need to learn some server, and support the software releases as well. Support software releases. That software releases is also, okay, end of the day you need to deploy to the server. That means you need to know about some server, and that's where we looked into the server. Server world is Linux, and especially the Linux is Red Hat, majorly widely used. And RHEL is the 9 is the latest version. So we'll be going with the learning of RHEL 9 version. Okay, I'll take a pause, and if anyone have any questions, so same thing, please raise your hand. I'll come to you on this. Anyone have any questions, please, you can raise your hand. Or yeah. Yeah, you can raise your hand now.
Hey, hi, Ravi.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
In current organization, RHEL 9, it is using, or RHEL 8? I mean,
So that's what, like I already mentioned, we already seen that both the versions are running. 8 and 9 is running, and whereas 9 is the latest version. So 8
yeah.
will sunset soon. So that's where let's learn the new one.
So the most of the projects are running on 9, right?
No, don't go there into the numbers.
Okay.
The latest version is what you use, right? Now, let's say if mobile is releasing today, you will go and buy a mobile which is manufactured 10 years back. Will you do that?
No. It will also continue, right?
So that means eventually, like let's say a mobile you have purchased 5 years back and you're still using, right? Ultimately, when you purchase it, you get a newer version of the thing, right? It's as simple as that. So projects would have been migrated or still migrating, whatever, it does not really matter. So 9 is the latest version. So eventually, end of the day, everyone has to come to 9, whoever is using 8 one day. Yeah.
Okay.
Someone raised, I think, Patel. Go ahead, Patel.
Yeah, hello. I just needed to understand that this is like it is inheriting all the previous versions commands, so we don't need to,
Correct.
do new things on that. It is following the same version and some additional features. That's it, right?
Of course. Always you are going to get the core will
Oh,
always be there. So that will be shipped with some additional features in the newer versions.
okay. So, just one more question. That virtual server, what is the difference between when we are
Not,
installing?
let me hold you. So we are not there. We'll go there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Raghu. So my question is, like you said, Slackware, Linux, Debian, and Red Hat, right? Like, are those different versions of Linux?
Different vendors.
Um,
Different.
different vendors in the sense?
So someone manufacturing a, let's say, AC, by the way. So there's a LG, there is a Samsung, there's a O General. So
Okay, okay.
different
Okay.
manufacturers.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. So moving on, I don't see any more hands. So now I want to practice this particular RHEL 9, by the way. Now, where can I practice this RHEL 9? Is a question, right? Because our desktops are Windows. Now, where can I get this Linux? Okay, so we can get this particular Linux in. Okay, so basically you can install in your local laptop and desktop. You can do that. Okay, but we'll not prefer to do that. Okay, so because I mean I don't want to remove your Windows and go with the Linux. By the way, that's not meant for desktop majorly. So no, we are not going with this guy. Okay. However, okay, so then we are learning cloud, by the way. So you're going to get, cloud offers the, Linux boxes, and ultimately we'll go there. But however, on the day one, going with the, doing with the cloud, by the way, is kind of little, okay, is a kind of little too much overwhelming, by the way. Okay. And so that's where, so we'll not go there. But however, I want every one of you to do a sign up of AWS, and every one of you, okay, the cloud, by the way, we are going to use AWS in this course. We are dealing with AWS cloud, and I want every one of you to sign up for AWS account, and you will be using the AWS account.
Raghu, one quick
Hey,
question.
hold on. If you have questions, please raise your hand. I'll come to you. Please don't. Okay, interrupt. I'll take a frequent pauses, and I'll ask for the questions, please. We have to, in the interest of time, by the way. So going back. Yeah. So every one of you need to sign up for AWS account, and you will be practicing in your own AWS account for this particular training. Okay. Now how to do that and all, by end of the session, I'll provide the, links and videos to do that. Okay. So that's where you do sign up. But today we'll not start with AWS. After 1, 2, 3, maybe third day, end of the day, okay, we'll get onto your requirement of AWS. And also try to sign up for the AWS today itself. Don't wait for the third day, because sometimes AWS, okay, requires time for activating your account and all. Will not get it immediately. Okay, sometimes you get it, sometimes you'll not get it. So they have their own validation. So that's where just do the sign up today itself. Don't do anything, just complete the sign up and just leave it. Okay, on the third day and fourth day, from fourth day we completely use the cloud. We'll get onto the cloud. But until then, I'm saying that, in laptop, we don't want to use it. Cloud, we don't want to go there, but still we need to learn Linux, right? And that is where we're going to take the help of a platform to get that, which is a free, a free platform, which is offering the Linux, by the way. We are going to go there and we're going to learn from there, by the way. So we are going to start from here. So Killer Coda is a platform, so which offers different learning softwares or different learning courses, by the way, and people can offer. Okay, so here it is, Killer Coda, this one, killercoda.com. And over here you have different courses, and I have hosted my course as well, and we'll be using this particular one. All right, my course URL is actually this. Anyhow, I'll share this URL once again, so you can just go with that. So here are the two courses, Linux Administration and Linux Basics. We're going to start with the basics, and we're going to learn the basics. So here we are going to get the, if you click on this, you get a, sign in. Simply you can click on Google and sign in. I already have a GitHub logged in here. I'll simply use GitHub. So any authentication you can use. Google also, you click on Google. They just need you're a valid person or not. That's it. And it's just going to bring something, let it do its job. Don't worry about what's going on there. But after that, you're going to get a Linux operating system over here, and you will start using that. Okay, so Killer Coda is the one. So that what we are going to use for the first 1, 2 until the end of third day. we're going to learn something from the killer coda. It does not really matter where you learn, by the way. That's the reason we're going with the killer coda. But I'm asking every one of you, you need to sign up for AWS, by the way. So let me put all this information. So I already mentioned this particular URL in one template, by the way. So people might have been already using it. I mean, just beside the recordings, you might have already have this. Let me just open the template. So this template, if you are using this template to join the session, so recordings you have, GitHub link is there. If you open this, you see this. And this is already having the Miro link, which we are actually using it. So this link is already available for you to see it. You can see this content. Now, additionally, now what we are going to need here is, we do require, fetch the information, 1 second. Yeah. So these are the information about AWS related thing. AWS account sign up video, and as well as sign up link, and after that login page. And after that, we do require killer coda. So this is the killer coda details. Okay. So if I go back here, so this is the one. All right. So here are the different links which you have. Now it's a self-explanatory things. After the session, please go through them and have your AWS account sign up. Now the question comes is generally is, okay, is AWS free? Okay. And it is not free, right? So it's not free. Okay. So at least for the project purpose, what we are taking, our project is a big project. The free tier, whatever you might have heard about that AWS is free. Okay. It will not fall under our bucket. So we need to spend on an average of, okay, so $20 to $30 on month, by the way. So we have to do the learning. Maybe first month you'll not have too much, but from second month, actually, you're going to expected to anticipated that a bill, if you use an average of 3 to 4 hours lab, then you are expected to get $20 to $30. But if you are practicing for 10 hours, 15 hours, the bill may increase. For a 3 to 4 hours of time, you may end up paying $20 to $30 per month. This is per month. We're going to pay. Okay. So this you have to pay from your side to practice in the Amazon side. So that's what it is. And also I'll tell you some of the best practices while actually go with the AWS and all. We talk about cost saving things as well. So ensure you follow those particular things. Your bill will go a little bit minimal. All right. So yeah, I'll take a pause here. Any questions? Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I think you answered the question. Last time I was trying to sign up, it gave me initial month or so free, but after that, out of charge.
See, you don't go by the word free, by the way. There is 100 lines down before that. You're not reading those 100 lines. That's a problem.
Okay, yeah, that's, okay, I'll, sign this up in a regular way. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Ravi. Good morning.
Yeah.
Does how many hours does AWS retail account providers?
Don't
Like-
worry about that. I'm telling straightforward upfront, I'm telling you will not fall under free. Okay. We're doing project here. We're not doing a just intro sessions. Okay. You join for a real-time training. Real-time won't run on free. Okay. So it is going to be a costly thing only. So because we have to run the huge infra, in order to do that, you have to pay. So remove that word of free from your mind. No hours, nothing. We don't fall under that. Yeah. We'll be taking the bigger instances. Okay. So that's of no use, by the way. So if you forget completely, no free. Yes. Any other questions?
Yeah, Raghu, this is Sudhir.
Yeah.
see what are the activities are, what are the 3 steps, right? Roles and responsibilities we are using. Are we covering how we need to perform those activities in Windows machine, how we need to do it, or if I have a Linux? Because some companies, they provide their employees MacBooks, so they will use MacBooks to perform their activities. Whereas some companies like me, I have a Windows machine to do the activity. So are we covering like that? So because
we're talking about server world. We are nowhere bothered about desktop, by the way. What we're
no, we
talking
need to access it, right? Whether the server or whatever it is, we need to access it and do it action. So do it whatever we need to do it, right? So
let's keep it this way. At this point of time, do you accept that whether you use Google Chrome, whether in Windows or if it is Mac OS,
yeah, I can.
It is same.
Yeah.
Then let it be like that.
Okay.
For now, it is fine. Yeah. So when really we need to talk about, yes, I hear your point, but it will come naturally on the day. Like
Okay.
when we now need to talk about, we'll talk about.
Oh,
No bother at this point of time.
sure. Thank you.
Anyone? Yes. Bhuvaneshwari, you need to unmute and talk.
Yeah. Yesterday I missed the demo session. Please provide a demo recording session.
It's already there in the link which you are joining. Please just take a look once.
I didn't get what I was saying.
From the links you are joining, so it is already
Yeah.
mentioned where is the recording available. So just take a look.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm keeping this particular GitHub URL also in the chat in case there's 2 templates we use. If one template, if you're not actually seeing it, this is the one. I'll check it out after the session. So I just pinged on the chat. So please, okay, bookmark this URL. This URL is the URL that we are going to use across the sessions. So please bookmark this URL. And all the code, whatever we write it, everything we're going to keep it over here only in this GitHub URL. Okay, so going back. Yeah, so let's get some quite introduction to Linux, by the way, and then we'll take a pause for today's session. Seems the audience are good here, not asking much questions. So we may be completing a bit early, but that's okay. Let's start with the killer coda. So killer coda URL is mentioned in this GitHub page like I was given here. So if you open this, once after you open, okay, so then you will be seeing 2 things: Linux administration, Linux basics. So now you click on Linux basics. So they will tell you, okay, so they'll take you to some URL here like this. Okay. So now on the left side, you're going to see some text. On the right side, you're going to go with the Linux operating system. Now, first thing first, okay, Linux you're seeing is, okay, Linux you're seeing a command line, by the way. Okay, so Linux is preferred to go with, okay, a command line operating system. So command line OS. That means Linux does not have Windows. UI approach like Windows. Yes, it does have Windows. UI approach like Windows, but we don't use it. By the way. Why don't we use it? Okay, because servers are not meant for UI purpose. The fancy things like playing videos or so something like that. So Linux are meant for serving something, and for those particular things you don't require the UI. That is one aspect. Okay, so unnecessary, we don't want it. There's another aspect to that. Now, since these are servers, by the way, lesser the software, okay, more securities. Okay, so okay, UI is not needed. So this is one aspect. Lesser the software, lesser the risk. Correct? if you have very less softwares, the risk is also very less. Why we go with the command line OS? UI is not needed because we don't use UI tools and all here. UI tools on the server side we don't use, so that's where you don't need it. And the server software also, because if I want to have a UI, I need to install a bunch of softwares. To get a UI is, okay, first thing, your Windows operating system hangs very frequently. Okay, so why as a professionals will not go to the Windows operating system even on the desktop side is because it hangs very frequently. I don't know the maturity now, by the way, so at least from a decade I've been with the Mac OS desktops majorly, but before to that I used to use Linux, but used to hanging purpose is very frequent in in the Windows one, because the UI, by the way, okay, UI heavy, right? So it's a heavy, and the software is also heavy. You need to install a bunch of softwares to do that, and that means more softwares are coming, the risk is also more. That means any software can have bugs, like someone can hack my machine, right? So because, okay, these servers are actually exposed to the outside world, so people will have, so like applications running this are exposed to the outside world. There's a, so there is some risk, which is always a probability of the risk is always coming into picture. Now that's where lesser the software, lesser the risk. Okay, so this is a very, so this is a very strong, okay, practice that we follow in the server side, because we don't install some software unless until we essentially need it. Just for the sake of, we don't install that at all. Okay, we have to be very careful. That's fine. So just generally, like, why do you prefer that? And okay, so minimal software can perform better. Okay, now if it is a CLI and all is all lightweight, okay, and it can perform better, by the way. Okay, and Linux is known to start an operating system right from 10 MB. Linux operating system can run right from 10 MB. Okay, we're talking about 10 MB, not 10 GB, 10 MB. Okay, 10 megabytes only an operating system can start in Linux. So that much minimal you can go with. All right, so this is where different reasons that, Linux is a command line OS, and that's where, okay, even in Windows also you can go with a command line. You can execute some commands in Windows. Okay, so but however, in Windows also we can execute some commands, but however, we may not be using some Windows commands, but you may be using UI and mouse, by the way, and double clicking it. Right, so this is how if someone is misusing it. Okay, sorry. All right. So the next is and the next one is okay. So let's go with the killer coda, and so since Linux is it's coming on Zoom. Anyhow, tomorrow actually this. Hey Harindra, can you clear the annotations, by the way? I cleared it. All right. Okay, cool. So
Sorry, Raghu, actually,
yeah, no
by
problem.
mistake done.
I understood. No issues. Cool. So going back to the so Linux, by the way. So now since it is a command line, you need to execute a command, and then you get the output. Okay. So now the command line is actually going to be like this. You will be executing some command. Now you want to open a folder. What do? By the way, you take all the way mouse and you click on double click with the mouse, right? in Windows. Maybe if here I need to execute a command. Maybe here all the way I want to open a video file, by the way, all the way I go here and I'll double click on the video file and it plays a movie on that. Maybe on the command line, again, I have to execute a command. Maybe you'll not see the video and all, that's okay. But still, I'm just telling, if I want to drink a water in Linux also, it is command only. It is like that. Okay, so commands is the one that what it is going to be, and those are the commands that you will learn. And Linux is known that you will be having more than 25,000 commands. Okay, now if you talk about learning Linux, your lifetime is not enough as well. Okay, so that's where I was talking about in the starting context I'm giving. So Linux, of course, there are different people uses Linux operating system for different purposes, and you need to know about what you need to do, and you should know about what you should do, right? So no compromise in that. But however, you always no need to explore the other information. I'll not stop it, but always, okay, let me tell you this particular point. Always, whatever the things you are doing, you look at the ROI, by the way, return on investment, right? So you're investing the time on learning something. So how much returns you are going to get it in your upcoming days, by the way. So Linux, you'll not get much. Okay. So that's where, okay, so you learn it, but however, you don't go too deeper on anything, by the way. Okay, don't waste time like me. Okay, I wasted enough time on Linux. Okay, so that's where I'm telling, you don't need that. So, I mean, so that's where, so just go through that, what is needed, and eventually, which is, okay, which you are not aware, and you're in a world of information, by the way. So open any website or open Google and you start searching, or open ChatGPT and start reading it. Okay, that much is fine on a needy day. Okay. But however, some bare minimum things is whatever we discuss in the first week of the sessions is must and should. You should remember those particular things must and should, and because those will be executing your day to day. Like maybe after 1 month, 2 months of time, you will be also a good hands-on on those particular things. No doubt in that. Okay, so that is fine. But however, don't take the discount on the things which I am telling, by the way. Right? So you should know about those particular things must and should. Now, so you execute any command. So some command, that's okay. I'm executing some command, that's okay. But whatever it is command also does not really matter. I executed some command, I'm getting some output, by the way. Now, what you need to understand is you execute a command and you get some output, and based on the output, you understand what has been happened. What has been happened, you're going to understand by looking at the output, by the way. Okay, so that is one thing. And by seeing the prompt, you will also understand some things, that you will understand that which user you logged in. Now in Windows, what is the default user? Administrator, right? What is the default user in Windows? What is the default username in Windows? Windows admin. What is the default user? So the answer you're getting is administrator. The same way Linux also comes with one default user, which is called as a root user, a username called as root. Okay, and every system will have a machine name, by the way, and this is the machine name of this particular machine, some 32D57 something. Okay, that is the name of the machine. All right, so this is how you're going to get by seeing the prompt, that you will understand something, that you currently logged in as a root user on this particular machine. So going forward, these machines will have a proper names that you will understand. So maybe I will show you from some. Oh, I closed it up. Okay, maybe. So generally, like, so when you maybe like my previous session prompts, I closed it, but otherwise you will see that, which server you logged in and all, it will show some information. So that information, so here it is showing like IP-172.31.12.106 in the screenshot. So that is the machine IP address. By seeing that, okay, you should understand where you are executing that command, or where you need to execute the command, because this is very, very important. I have seen many cases, people, now you open multiple windows to connections to the multiple servers. I have seen n number of scenarios. People have accidentally executed one command, supposed to be executed that command in one server, they have executed in some other server. Okay, so you have to be very careful. You have to be very consciousness. Okay, you need to be very, very very, very conscious on while you're going with the Linux. I'm telling you again, because you are going to perform something on the servers, by the way. So blindly doing the things is very, very difficult while you, okay, when you join the organization, by the way, let's say, if you are just blindly doing the things is very, very, very danger. Okay. I'm calling it out again because a lot of people does this. Okay. Including me also sometimes. So don't ever execute a command unknowingly on a live machines, by the way. Okay, maybe you'll have some test servers and all there, you can test it out, understand the behavior, and probably you gain the conscious about, okay, what is it and how is it doing and all, and then you may go with that. That's fine. But don't directly jump onto the live machines and execute the commands. So there are, at least in my career, I have seen few people losing their jobs, but just for working even. Okay, working during sleeping, right? So that is the problem. Okay, so you should not actually, okay, do the things unconsciously or subconsciously. Okay, gain more consciousness. And okay, I'm raising the red flag. I'm scaring you maybe, but still keep that scare in the mind, because you are going to deal with a live machine where the business is running. Okay, now if your command is actually bringing the application down, then you should be the responsible for that, right? So that's where you have to be very careful when you're actually on the machines. Okay, and extra caution, of course, like, today's in the mature world, no worries will come, but still, why do you need to take that risk as granted, by the way, right? So be conscious, and that's fine. So just execute the commands properly, consciously, which is fine. Now you execute any command, you're going to get the output, and based on the output, you'll understand. By seeing the prompt, you will understand, okay, so what user you are and what machine you are, and always ensure you're executing the command in the right machine. And even in our lab also, I'll just help you in having the prompt setup also, by the way. So we will set up these particular prompts so that you will not have a mistake, because I don't really remember this word, or maybe I don't remember the numbers like this. Okay, we'll set the prompt, by the way. So this prompt can be customizable. We'll set the prompt for gaining the bit more easy context, by the way. All right, so that's how we will avoid some mistakes as well, but that's fine. That's how it is. So this is all about, so the command line introduction. Any questions before proceeding? Cool. So the next section over here is in the same introduction. So the commands, by the way. Now you need to know some commands. Of course, you don't know anything. You start typing in the internet, you get it. That is fine. And when you execute the command also, it will have some options. It will have some options, by the way. So those options are, okay, also you'll find out from the internet. Like, again, you know, to really remember all the options, but some regular options day to day while you're executing, you will remember those options. But some options may be, okay, so maybe, okay, so like, maybe you need to take the help of internet. Agreed. Like, it's not like everything you remember as well. But as long as you have a context that this is possible, some option is there and all, it is fine. Okay. So that is okay. Which is fine. And also that, so these commands will behave differently when you actually use these options. So now uname I'm giving, okay. So uname I'm giving, I'm getting something, and uname -a I'm getting something. Uname kernel I'm giving, okay, I may not be there. Name -, I don't know. So some options are there. -, help will so kernel -release, not just kernel -release. So I'm getting something. So don't bother about it. Just the same command, by the options, whatever you have here, the behavior is changing, and it is performing some extra operation or some other operation. Okay. So that is what the overall idea. Okay. So that's where, okay. So these options will be there, and how these options look like, either it is a single character, like uname -a I have used, or -a word, like I use here, -a word, or maybe hyphen word also. In some commands will come with hyphen word only. Like for an example, Java is there here. Yeah. So Java hyphen version, if I give hyphen version, it will throw me an error, or it's coming, by the way. Or actually it comes with a hyphen version, in fact. Okay, so hyphen also works, by the way. It's all depends upon the command. Now, how do you remember whether it works with hyphen or whether it works with hyphen or whether it works with hyphen? A simple option which will help you is any command you take it, like say Java, you have to take hyphen help, you get all the options which you can use. Okay, so let's say uname hyphen help. So if you actually give hyphen help to any command, it will try to give some options how to use it. Okay, so this also you can do that, or else even without this, you start reading from internet is what I would suggest. Go to internet and you, okay, so uname hyphen help. So then you just get the manual page, Linux manual page, you'll see, and you start reading it from here. Better. So this is how, okay, so we are going to, okay, deal with the command and its options. Every command may or may not have options. Depends upon our requirement. You have to go and, depends upon our requirement, okay, we have to go and, okay, choose the option. Depends upon the need. Now let's say I'm adding a user. Okay, so adding a user needs a username, but he needs some extra permissions, extra options, by the way. Now, for example, there is a command user add, and I can go for hyphen help. Now he needs some more information. He need to be added some groups, then I have to choose some options. He need to change his home directory, I need to use some options. Okay, I need to set some different password, that I need to use some option. Like, you know, so depends upon the requirement. I simply adding a user is different. Adding a user with this so and so is different with those options, by the way. Like that, a command will have options. Command will have options. Okay, may, not will, by the way, I would use a may have options. Generally you'll have options, but may or may not have options, and you may or may not need options. So depends upon the requirement, what is the command and what is the combination of the option that you need to think about, you should think about and use it. Okay, so that's something about the command introduction. And sometimes the command also, let me take this and then I'll take the complete pass for today. So here, so the inputs are there. Okay, so some commands might require some inputs. Now let's say I want to add a user, I need to tell what is a username. If I want to install a software, I need to tell which software I need to install. I need to start some service, I need to tell which service I need to start. Okay, I need to edit a file, I need to tell which file I need to edit. Okay, inputs will be there. Inputs also may or may not be there. Okay, a command will be there. Command may or may not have options. Command may or may not have input. It all depends upon what is your requirement. Okay, so that's how we are going to, okay, so learn the Linux from with this basic understanding is all about commands. You'll learn some 30-35 commands in the first iteration of the Linux in the first week, and post that. Okay, so not even 35, less than 30, I would believe. And post that actually, so during the training, you know, whenever the requirement comes in, okay, as particular requirement comes in, we'll learn those particular commands as well during that time. Okay, but in the first week, we're going to deal with first week, and next week, first one day, by the way. So including the networking may come around 35 commands close to. So these 30-35 commands you must and should remember. Okay, and must and should you practice, by the way, not one time, 1,000 times, I would say. You will not forget. It's all about you shouldn't forget, by the way. What all the things you do not to forget, it's your choice. I don't mind. By the way. And with all this, I would like to take a pause, maybe a bit early today. And if you have any questions, please go ahead. Otherwise, feel free to drop. I don't have any further points to discuss. We'll start with Linux from tomorrow.
Also,
one more small minute. Sorry, Daniel. And also just ensure you create your AWS accounts and get them ready. On the third day, we'll start using them. Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
Saying we have exactly about 30 to 35 commands in Linux we need to master.
Yes.
Got it. That's exactly what we would need to execute any project we're working on as far as DevOps is concerned.
Too much day to day. That doesn't mean that you should end there only, but too much day to day, what we use is this.
Got it.
These commands. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? So feel free to ask any questions related to the program as well. So since some people may be new today, so any questions related to the program training?
Hi, Raghu.
Yeah, one more question. I'm sorry. Concerning the Linux too. Did you just post the list of the commands we need to understand?
It is all there in the killer coda. The
Got it.
killer coda URL. Just going next deck, by the way, you will see that.
All right.
Yes, Venkat, go ahead.
Hi, Raghu.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this session, will you cover the scripting? Which type of scripting we will cover?
We have two
And
scripting.
what extent you will cover in this one, scripting then?
To the requirement project level, we do, by the way. When we talk about project, it's already not coming intro, by the way. Implementations will come.
Which scripting is Bash scripting or Python scripting?
Both.
Both will cover.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Raghu, one question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yesterday in the introduction class, I think you gave intro on the DevOps, what's the role and all that. There is also DevSecOps. We don't touch upon those, right? That's mostly.
Course is DevSecOps only already.
Oh, okay. I see. I'm using more interchangeably. Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Yes, Praveen.
It's actually too early to ask this question, but just had a thought in my mind. Once we complete our, we are going to perform all our operations using the Red Hat, right? So once we completed it, how easy it would be to perform all these operations using the Azure.
Your voice is not completely clear. Some words are missing.
Just want to ask you that once we completed this course, how easy it would be to perform all these operations using the Azure.
I mean, why are you getting that question in the very first place is what I'm having.
Yeah, you missed my question. I started with that it's too early to ask this question. I know that, but I just had a thought in my mind.
No, I'll put this question in this way. So if I learn the car, how comfortable I'll be learning, I mean, how comfortable I'll be driving the car. If you
No,
put that question to you yourself.
my point is only that how we can say how common the scenario in the both of the operating systems are.
Oh, no. Then your words are not clear. I am not understanding it properly. Then you need to repeat your question. I don't want to assume then. I want to understand every word.
Okay. So yesterday you told that there are few tools like Jenkins, right, and Kubernetes.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to be similar in the both the operating system?
Tools are always same, right? How does it matter?
Okay. So means that if we have completed this course, we can get some point in Azure as well. We can say that this would be helpful if we want to do the Azure as well, right?
No, this is not Azure AWS, by the way. You're talking about tools and I mean, are comparing the cloud, by the way.
So I'm comparing the AWS and the Azure.
Like it will be similar only. That's what so you can also understand this way, by the way. For an example, one car and you took another vendor car, just as an example, basic example.
Okay.
So you know how to
Clear.
drive it, right? Maybe the options, sometimes the indicator is left and right, it changed. Some options, right? It will be like that only. Once you gain the context of one service, what is this service, how it works on one cloud, another service also, they'll try to do the same thing end of the day. But the options may be different, features may be different, things like that will come. Yeah.
I got that.
Yeah.
Got that. Thank you.
Hi, Raghu.
Yeah.
Raghu, I'm from a non-tech background. I just wanted to understand one thing, like how this DevOps course is different from the platform engineering. If you can just highlight, give few points.
Your roles will be different, by the way. Being a platform engineer, you will enable your, you will enable the things for the, so the DevOps engineer to deploy the things inside the inside that particular company's platform, by the way. So when you look in, by the way, so your role will tool tech stack will be same, by the way, but however, the dimension of the work, what you're doing is you're enabling some persons to host it in the platform. Okay, so host the applications in the platform. So that's what you will be doing. The context of the work will be changing. So unless until, you know some technical details, it's even hard for me also to tell you, by the way, at this point of time. So if you ask me generally, what is a platform engineer is different with a DevOps engineer. So you take Amazon.com as a platform, like as a retail platform. Now there may be 1,000 services which is running the Amazon.com service. Now, for each service, there'll be some DevOps engineer, or for group of services, there'll be some DevOps engineers. But however, you can't give, so you can't give the control to one DevOps engineer to, so host his application. So they need some sort of a control way to deploy their applications and manage their applications. So that's where the platform engineering will come into picture. It's all about enablement. So with the big companies, it will arise by them. You're on mute, by the
Got it, Raghu.
Anyone? Any other questions?
Hi, Raghu.
Yeah.
I just want to know that if someone wants to get certified in Red Hat Linux Administrator, what should be the roadmap for that?
Don't waste your time with that, is what my suggestion.
Okay, is it not? It is not necessary to learn DevOps.
Linux is mandatory. Linux certification is not mandatory.
Okay.
Anyone? Any other questions? Right. If nothing, we can wrap it up as well. Any questions? Feel free to ask.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, Raghu, good morning.
Yeah.
So, what is the DevSecOps? Is it cover this session?
Right.
This
It is
batch?
covered in this session. Cool. No questions, then we'll wrap it up we'll wrap it for today, and we'll meet in tomorrow's session, and we'll continue. Okay. Thank you. Bye. Good day. Good night.